An NBA insider just hinted at a major trade going down between the Toronto Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets ahead of this year's NBA draft. Of course, Masai Ujiri has been going all in on trying to improve this roster and find win-now players for next season. And now with this latest reports, he has the opportunity to do that while also land multiple draft picks later in the first round of this NBA draft. So lots of stuff to dive into in this video because frankly, the reports are coming out left, right, and center. We don't want you to miss a single thing. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Getting very close to 38,000 subscribers, so I appreciate every single one of you that are hitting that button. But let's jump straight into the news because there's a lot of news to dive into. So firstly, Brett Siegel has come out and said Toronto is an interesting team to discuss entering the NBA draft. After having interest in Durant, Masai Ujiri is expected to remain aggressive in his hunt for more talent to get the Raptors back in playoff contending position. As a result, the Raptors have continued to dangle RJ Barrett in trade discussions with multiple teams, sources have said. Talk of RJ Barrett being on the move has widely been reported by Mike Scotto of Hoops Hype. Where Barrett could end up is a mystery at this time, but league sources have indicated that Brooklyn's desire to acquire another lottery pick. So we're rekindling some reports, some buzz that happened just a couple of weeks ago, as essentially it was reported that a discussion of Cam Johnson coming to the Toronto Raptors, we covered it on the channel, was one of the things that the Raptors are interested in this offseason. And now with the draft around the corner, things are moving into place. So Brett Siegel went on to say that, is there a potential trade between the Nets and Raptors that could see Barrett and the 9th pick going to Brooklyn? This is something many around the league are keeping an eye on, as there's no guarantee Toronto will keep the 9th pick in this year's draft. So we are now hearing multiple insiders discuss how the Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri, are one of the more likely teams to trade out of the top 10 of this year's draft. We heard Dan Tolzman talk about how there are a lot of teams trying to jump into the top 10, a lot of teams discussing in that area. Not a lot of room to jump up in the NBA draft, move up the draft boards, but a lot of teams trying to get where the Toronto Raptors are at. And this is another stable. Last video we talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're trying to sneak their way into the top 10. And now the Brooklyn Nets are the other team that's a few teams have been mentioned, but the Brooklyn Nets are another team that's trying to get another top 10 pick, as they also have the number 8 overall selection. So that's coming from Brett Siegel. Also had this come out from his article saying that a few other teams in addition to the Nets are looking to move up in this year's NBA draft. The Spurs have contacted a couple teams about moving up from the 14th pick. The Wizards have expressed interest in moving up from the 18th overall, and the Sacramento Kings continue to be mentioned as a team actively looking to acquire a first-round pick. Even so, the most intriguing intel emerged Monday night revolves around the Oklahoma City Thunder, fresh off a championship, working the phones, attempting to jump into the lottery, sources have said. First reported by ESPN insider Jonathan Cavoni. So there are a lot of teams trying to get into the top 10. But diving back to the Nets, in terms of what we're looking at in terms of a trade package and how things could look, the Nets are a very interesting team to actually, negotiate a trade with, given their current selections in this year's NBA draft. So if we take a look at their roster, because they have a few guys out there on this team that are interesting. Of course, Ben Simmons is gone. This is just their payroll for last season. But Nick Claxton's been a guy the Raptors have been interested in for a long time. Of course, with Jakob Poeltl being the center of the future, he doesn't seem like Nick Claxton's going to be the main piece. The interesting guys, of course, Cam Johnson, who the Raptors were linked to earlier in this season. He's about $21 million per year this season, $23 million per year next season, and is a really, really strong three-point shooter, right? We look at him in terms of his floor spacing, his size, and stuff. Averaged 19.9 points per game last year for the Brooklyn Nets, 4.4 rebounds, and also came out and, 3.4 assists, and shot 39% from the three-point line and 45% out there on corner threes. So Cam Johnson is a guy that can get buckets, can space the floor, and yes, I have been outspoken. I have been... people are probably mad I haven't said this yet. I really don't want to trade RJ Barrett for not a superstar. I just want to see him on this roster. I think he's been extremely underrated across the league because we look at the stats, right? We look at the stats. RJ Barrett last season, 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 35% of the three-point line, 40% corner threes. He is improving. He's only 25 years old. He still has a ton of upside out there in the league. And yes, definitely in terms of positional fit, in terms of everything like that, Cam Johnson is the better positional fit, playing alongside, a Scottie Barnes as well as a Brandon Ingram. He spaces the floor more. It's more that style of play that is in that role. But is I'm a homer. I'm a homer. I'm objective about it. I'm clear as day. I'm open to you guys about it. I love RJ Barrett, so that is what it is. But if I take my homer hat off and I look at this deal, Cam Johnson would be a very cool pickup. And then really anchoring a trade like this would be the draft picks the Toronto Raptors get back. Because we look at the draft picks the Nets have this year. They have number 8. So number 8, which is not going to be in this package because they're trying to get a second top 10 pick. They have number 19, they have number 27, they have number 26, and they also have number 36 in this year's NBA draft, which is a very valuable second rounder. So they have a ton of potential picks to actually play around with in terms of a package with this Raptors team. So, looking at the guys in that range, we discussed this in the video earlier today. The Raptors have had interest in guys like Danny Wolf, Noah Essengay, a lot of guys. Yegor Demin is a guy that's been linked in previous reports and stuff. There are a lot of names that are around this range of where the Nets are selecting with all these picks. That could be selections for the Toronto Raptors in this spot. So those are all things you have to really take into consideration when you're making this move, because one of the best attributes of Masai Ujiri as a general manager, as a president of basketball operations, as a guy in the front office, is his ability to find diamonds in the rough, the ability to, we saw it last year, late first-round pick, Jacoby Walter, second-round pick, Jonathan Mobo, mid-second-round pick, Jamal Shead. The Shed heads are out here hyped in terms of that selection, in terms of what he was able to do. Undrafted free agent Jamison Battle. 4 guys in last year's NBA draft, which is expected to be much weaker than this one. Masai Ujiri was able to find diamonds in the rough. So if we get multiple picks in the back half of this draft, if we get multiple, trades, and this is a hypothetical trade that could go down, is, if we take a look at the deals, I put it up on Twitter. I didn't grab the screenshot of it because I'm silly, but you have at least 2 of number 19, 26, and 27. The Raptors have an opportunity to find a couple gems out there in the back half of the second round. You have Cam Johnson, who's going to be a 3-and-D guy for your squad. And if this team is going to trade RJ Barrett anyways, because I'm not a fan of trading RJ Barrett in general. Unless, we're getting a big fish, unless we're getting Giannis onto Antetokounmpo or stuff, I'm still going to be a bit disheartened if we end up dealing away RJ Barrett. That's the reality. That's been my stance, and that's just my own personal biases, loving the Toronto Raptors, loving this, and everything that's going on there. But as far as trade packages are concerned, this isn't one of the worst. Again, if you can get all 3 of those picks, and the Raptors really load up on more young talent, more young pieces. We've seen what Masai Ujiri's been able to do with seconds, and maybe we throw in our 40 or 39 pick or whatever we have out there in the second round to make things even up. If we get 3 first-round picks in terms of this package, then that is something that is very, very intriguing for this Raptors team. But of course, you do have to deal with the fact of trading away number 9, because there's a lot of valuable pieces around that number 9 overall selection, right? Not in this mock draft because I screenshot the other area, but Common Mallow Watch, you have a lot of these names that could jump up, and you have that agency to really pick who you want to pick if you're in that top 10 selection. So you do risk that. Of course, you risk RJ Barrett being dealt away and then becoming a star, which I would not be shocked if that ends up happening. I mean, I'm pulling up the stats again. I'm pulling up the stats one more time. 21, 6, and 5. I know people talk about this, but he's also been able to knock down threes. He's improved so much. I'm not that amped up, that juiced about dealing away RJ Barrett. But of course, as far as the trade packages that have gone, Cam Johnson and multiple first-round picks would be interesting, even though you also have to deal away 9. So let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. You guys are the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out.